Hi GOR, this is Unit 3B, and today we're doing Lesson 2, which is called the midsegment of a triangle. Okay, so the midsegment of a triangle is a segment connecting the midpoints of two sides of a triangle. Now you remember midpoint is a point that divides a line segment into two congruent line segments. So basically if D is a midpoint, see how I'm showing you that AD is congruent to BD. And if E is a midpoint, I'm showing you that BE is congruent to EC, then that line DE right there is called the midsegment. So an example of a midsegment is DE because it connects the two midpoints on the left side and the right side of that triangle. Now we're not going to do the construction, but the construction has already been done for us. So let's take a look at it. A midsegment has been constructed. The midpoints of AB and AC were constructed and labeled as X and Y respectively. So all I did is to find the midpoint. The construction is the perpendicular bisector. So remember, I put my compass on B, I opened it up more than halfway, and I drew that red arc. And then I switched it over to point A with the same setting, and I drew that red arc. And where the two arcs intersect, I connected that and I had that line. And then I did the same thing to AC. I put my compass on C, I opened it more than halfway, and I drew that blue arc. I put it on A, same setting, drew that blue arc, and then again I drew that perpendicular bisector. So where the perpendicular bisector touches the side of the triangle, I called that Y on the right, and where the perpendicular bisector touches the side of the triangle on the left, I called that X. And then I connected X and Y. So midsegment XY was drawn. So I just wanted to explain that to you. Compare angle AXY to angle ABC. So AXY, let me get a highlighter out. So AXY is this angle right here that I just highlighted in yellow, and angle ABC, which is right here, which I highlighted in yellow. Okay, and I also want to compare angle AYX. I'll highlight that in green. Let me get a lighter green. AYX is right here on the right. And I want to compare it to angle ACB, which I put in green also. All right, without using a protractor, what would you guess would be true about those two angle pairs? And if you guess that they're congruent, you're absolutely right. They look congruent. If I was to take out a protractor and measure them, I would see that AXY is congruent to ABC. And I would see that angle AYX is congruent to angle ACB. So what the implication of this relationship, the next question, if these two angles are congruent, that makes line XY and BC parallel because those are called corresponding angles. So the lines are parallel because the corresponding angles are congruent. So since those angles are congruent and they are corresponding angles, that means that the lines are parallel. So that midsegment is parallel to that other side of the triangle, to side BC. Okay. Another thing about it, and we're going to write this down on the next page, if you were to take out a ruler and measure XY and measure BC, XY is half the length of BC. So the midsegment is also half the length of that third side. All right. So properties of midsegments. The midsegment of a triangle is parallel to the third side. And the midsegment of a triangle is half the length of the third side. All right, so let's look at some questions that I got just to practice a tiny bit so you can see it in action, and then we will practice some more tomorrow. Apply what you know about the properties of midsegments to find the following. Solve X. All right, so now I know it's a midsegment because I'm showing you that the top half and the bottom half are congruent, and on the left and on the right, I'm showing you the top and the bottom are also congruent to each other. So if it's a midsegment, this line right here, the midsegment, is parallel to the third side, but I'm just trying to find X. X is equal to half of that DC. X equals half of DC, which is 30, and half of 30 is 15. Done. Now I want to find the perimeter of triangle ABC. So this whole triangle, I need to find the perimeter. The perimeter is the sum of all the sides. Well, remember on the left, this is a midpoint. So if the top half is 9, the bottom half is 9. And on the right, this is a midpoint. So if the bottom half is 10, the top half is 10. So to find that perimeter, I'm just going to add 9 plus 9 plus 30 plus 10 plus 10. Okay, and I can do that all right in my calculator, and that gives me 68. And then I have to find x and y also. Again, this is a mid-segment because this is a midpoint. I'm showing you that these are congruent. And this is a midpoint because I'm showing you these are congruent. So I want to find x and y. You might want to turn your paper around if you find that a little easier to look at it the other way. But basically, these angles, I'll highlight them in yellow right here. These angles, okay, are going to be congruent. Because remember, we learned that a mid-segment is parallel to that third side. So x will also be 50 degrees. That's one of the questions. So now I know this is 50. And then I have to find y. Well, y is equal to this angle over here, but I don't have that angle. But I can easily find that angle. This is just a triangle right here, and the angles of a triangle equal 180. So I know that one of the angles is 60 and one of the angles is 50. So I'm going to do 180 minus 60 minus 50. That missing angle is 70. So now I know this angle is 70. Angle Y is also going to be 70. Okay? And we will practice that. That's the end of it. I'm just checking. We will practice that tomorrow with the mid-segment. So the two basic rules that you need to know are here and here. It's parallel to the third side, so then you'll have those